Today we're going to talk about 4 different things you must do to avoid failing in CarShare. Lots of great information in this video. Before I get into that, click below, grab the 5 things you must do before starting a car rental business. That also comes with the CarShare Growth Guide, which gives you a city-by-city breakdown of which CarShare platform is strongest in your area. Lots of great information in there. Before I get going, give this channel a subscribe and a like. I always appreciate your support. I think that a lot of times people get into this industry and they think, oh, it's going to be simple. It's going to be like Airbnb, but for cars. You just throw a listing up online and it just does its thing. Well, it's not quite that simple. I think that CarShare has a lot more nuance to it. However, there is a right way to do it and a right way that can actually make you a good living. I've seen this for years, but I have seen a lot of people fail in this as well. And all you guys over on the Turo side of YouTube are always typically complaining that there's really not much money to be made in CarShare. Well, I would contend with you that you are wrong. There is. You just have to do it right. So let's get into it. Number 1, you must find the sweet spot for car acquisition. First of all, you must have a vision for how the car is going to be used. If this is a car that's going to be put on Turo or Getaround, I would grab a car around 60,000 miles and probably under $20,000 in value. At that price point, you're gonna need about 60,000 miles of runway for CarShare over the next 5 years. So typically on apps like Turo or Getaround, those cars are going to do around 1,000 miles a month or 12,000 miles a year, and they usually don't last longer than 5 years before somebody crashes it. So you're going to need about a 60,000 mile runway if you're going to use this car on Turo or Getaround. And in that scenario, you definitely can make it work. You ideally want to get a payment on that car as low as possible. So either pay for it cash or get a payment that's like under $300, 400 tops, I would say. That's really the ideal scenario in that thing. If you're getting a car that is costing you $800, $900 a month, it's not going to work. Sorry, it's just not going to work. If you're going to run this on like a long-term private rental agreement, you can go lower, newer on the mileage and newer with the car. In that scenario, that's when I would say that buying a relatively new Honda Accord or something like that makes more sense because it has a longer runway for mileage and it's going to be a lot more lucrative in the long run. So that's a different business model and a different way to deal with things. I've talked about that extensively on this channel, but it's a little more tricky to deal with that side of the business model with private rentals. However, it does work that way. Number 2, on that topic, you really need to understand all forms of CarShare and RideShare. I know a lot of Turo hosts now, they are partnering with Uber. They're very upset about having to deal with any form of a RideShare driver. Look, guys, you cannot be prissy in this industry. You're gonna have to get your hands dirty, all right? That's just the way it goes with this business. The most money in this business is on the RideShare side of the equation. That's just the way it is. I hate to tell you, I'm sorry, but that's just the reality. If you're whining about Turo not being lucrative enough or Getaround not being lucrative enough, they can make you money, but you just have to have the right situation going in terms of the economics of the car. But if you really want to make a lot more money and you want to do private rental agreements with Uber drivers, you can do that and make a lot more money, but there's going to be more headaches and you have to have a tighter system in terms of dealing with collections on payment and repossessions and the technology on the cars, etc. So there's a variety of things you need to think about, but if you can master all forms of operations in the car rental space, you will be successful in this industry. I promise you, you will. Number 3, you have to understand all scenarios for car rental insurance. This is also very important because most of you are over-insuring your cars. That is the most common thing I see all the time. And it's so common in this industry where people want to just make sure they're insuring it enough, blah, blah, blah. But mostly they are over-insuring. They're paying $100 to $200 more than they need to each month. And that is why their margins are screwed up. So that is something I typically fix a lot with my own clients, is that they're over-insuring. You have to have a really good understanding of which insurance scenario makes sense for which case. If you are having questions about this, click in the description below. I do have a mini course all about this. Number 4, this isn't talked about too much on YouTube, but you really need to do the best you can to minimize downtime and loss of use revenue for your car rentals. If it gets into an accident, it's going to be in the shop for a month or two. So that is obviously a huge headache. So as much as you can, to your best of your durability. Now, obviously, if you're putting the cars on Turo or Get Around, they are doing a lot of the background check and MVR checks right off the bat. That's a motor vehicle report. So they're doing those checks on Get Around or Turo right off the bat for you. If you're working in a private rental, either short-term or long-term, you've got to run a background check on people, and you've got to run an MVR report on them to ensure that these are good drivers and they're not going to give you headaches. Also, like if you have one step, monitor the driving behavior. If people are driving like crazy people, don't let them rent anymore. Get them out of your system. So that's another thing, is that you can track a lot of this stuff now with vehicle telematics. Overall, I would say that it's very important to keep the cars up and rented as much as possible. You also need to have great mobile mechanics. Get them in, get them out, change a battery, change a tire, change oil real quick, get them back out. It should be done in an hour or two. It shouldn't go into the shop and be gone for 2 days. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, this has to be fast. Also, if you're working with a mechanic shop or a body shop, body shops especially, because body shops are huge headaches. You've got to get a good body shop and someone who can really turn things around in a week or two. Like, none of this like 3-month BS. And trust me, I've dealt with that. It's a huge headache. And you also want a good mechanic. So all these types of things, you have to have a good infrastructure in place to maintain your cars and keep the uptime as high as possible so that they are making money as much as possible. So that is a really important thing in this business, because a lot of times we all lose cars to repairs and all kinds of dumb stuff. So that is an important component in this business. Overall, this is a lucrative business. You just have to do your homework on it. You really have to understand how this is going to work and have a very specific plan of what you're going to do exactly. If you need help with that, I can help you. Click below. Always happy to do a call with you. Before I go, drop some comments. Would love to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you in the next episode. Thank you.